You're watching the special edition of Urban Reality and GST. We're taking your questions on how GST will impact your next EMI to even a rent check. Before I go to my next caller who's waiting by, I just want to get Prashanth, would you want to come in here where Mr. Hiranandani is saying that either whether it's affordable or it's luxury, all kinds of houses are likely to now see a 3% increase in prices. How is that possible?
No, I don't agree necessarily. So, because again, the inputs, cement, steel are at a higher rate than the output of 12%. So, effectively, what the government has done for the housing sector is that the rate on a flat is 18%. 1/3 is the deduction for land. So, effectively, you're paying 12% on a flat when you buy. But the rate on inputs is actually 18% to 28%. So in fact, one of the fear of one particular sector of the developers is that we may have overflow of credit, and then that credit overflow is denied, is not given as a refund, which may in turn end up being a cost on the construction side, but unlikely that we see any increase, so to speak, materially on account of construction costs going up. The fear I just want to break this into two. For the affordable housing and budget housing, and the fear is that the input overflow ends up being a cost, and that may be something that Mr. Hiranandani is referring as if the developer is not getting it as a refund, he'll have to price it into the apartments. But for a luxury apartments, that's the other end of the segment where your inputs are pretty much you're going to use them up, but because of the margins of the developer being slightly on the higher side, there may be an increase. So what that increase is it 3.5%? I find it a little high on the higher side. But just to summarize, affordable housing, there will be credit overflow, which if costed into the apartments, there may be some increase. On the luxury side, yes, because of the margins being high, there may be a little bit of more on the tax impact, but unlikely to be at 3.5%.
All right, unlikely to be 3.5%. Okay, let's take this next question. Somesh from Gurgaon on the phone line with us. Hi, Somesh, what's your question?
Hi. I have already negotiated and agreed on a price for my house, but have not yet made a payment. I want to know, does that change post GST?
All right, well, okay. Does that change? You've negotiated a price, well, Abhishek, you want to take that question? Ideally, it should not change, but what's your summary?
Yes, Manisha, so it will depend on if the price is negotiated for a already built up flat, if he's buying it as a constructed flat after completion certificate, then as we said in the beginning, there is no GST impact. There will be no GST applicability, it will only attract stamp duty. However, if what he has negotiated is under construction flat, then of course the payments that he will make on or after July would attract GST. But at the same time, the builder would get credit on all the material that he is purchasing for construction of this flat, which the builder should pass it on to him as reduction in price.
All right, so it should be price neutral. Is that the takeaway? If it's an under construction early stage project, it should be price neutral?
Yes, it should be. And it's important that the builder passes on, yes, it should be. If it is an early start of construction or the construction is not started, then the builder will get credit of all the material, the GST that he has paid on the material. And he should pass that benefit to the customer as reduction in the price of the flat.
All right, so it's actually likely to come down a little bit, especially if it's a budget housing, which means it's a house priced under 75 lakhs. Can we agree on that if it's not luxury, if it's a budget house, then you could actually see some benefits on the pricing, even if you've negotiated now, and the builder should be passing that out to you, Prashanth?
Manisha, there are two things, I think. One is the incremental taxes, and the second is the discount on your base price itself. So we did speak about the differential or incremental taxes. For a budget housing, I don't see developers going back to the customers for any increase in taxes. Now the next question is, if the construction cost of the developer goes down because of increased credits, is there a possibility that he'll pass it on as a further discount, so it gets better for the customer than what it is today? Then there again, it depends on, because it's not a straight answer, although that's what our customers expect. But it's not a straight answer. It's project to project, stage of completion, and especially if there's an overflow of credits, the developer can't do anything with that. So even though, yes, the construction cost has gone down because of the credits, but if that credit, because of it's a budget housing, there's an overflow of credits, it has to be factored as a cost. So to summarize, I don't think there'll be increment on account of differential taxes, but will the developer pass on the discount is completely up to the developer and his ability to use up all the credits.
All right. Okay. We've got time to take just one quick question. Nena on the phone line. Nena, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. The builder says the cost of land, the complex where I bought flat is over 30%. So does that mean that I have to pay more than 12% tax?
All right. Mr. Hiranandani, I'm sure, yes, this seems to be a Mumbai caller. Does that rate change, or does the cost, is there a price increase there?
No, there will be no price increase there. GST would be totally budgeted on the basis of 12%, so there won't be a higher charge in this respect because it's a composite contract that you have entered into, and all the inputs will be governed by the GST at the rate of 12% and won't be at the higher rate of 18%, which would otherwise be possible for development on the other side by the contractors. You won't have to pay a higher rate.
All right, let's take one more question which has come in, which says, how do I treat my rent now, rent checks? I think, Abhishek, do you want to just take that question on rentals? Next rental check that the landowner will be presenting or the apartment owner will be presenting to a tenant, will there be a change in that?
Yeah, so that's a simple one and I can give a straight answer. For residential dwelling, any rent that a landlord, any rent that the developer or the landlord charges is exempt from GST. So, and it was exempt from service tax even today. So there is no incremental or differential treatment. It remains indirect tax free. However, commercial renting, wherever if you have taken something on commercial rent for commercial purposes, then the current service tax was, or the earlier service tax was 15%, and that will increase to 18%. But since you have taken it for commercial purposes, this 18% would be available as a credit and you can offset it against your output GST liability, whether you're a manufacturer, a trader or a service provider. So though it increases from 15 to 18 for commercial, renting for commercial purposes, it doesn't remain a cost. It's all creditable. And for residential renting, it is exempt, so no GST. Yeah.
No GST. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. I think we've got some very good answers. Absolute answers are very hard to get because, like we said at the beginning, a real estate asset takes time to build and it will be at different stages, and a lot will depend on what stage it is at and also the price point it is at. Mr. Hiranandani, Mr. Bhat and Abhishek Jain, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today on Urban Reality. This is a special on GST and its impact on buying a house. We will be back next week, same day, same time. So goodbye and thank you so much for joining us.